The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. We're coming to you a couple of minutes late because we're having a couple of technical difficulties, and Traven is being amazing and getting it done and getting it to you, but we are coming to you a little bit late. But we thank Traven for working the problem. So I'm Shannon Penrod. We're coming to you live from the Warner Center, and when you do live, all kinds of things happen, right? And the Warner Center is the home for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. It is also the home for Autism Live, and we are thrilled and excited to be here with you live on this Thursday morning. I wanted to take just a quick second. Last Thursday, we had a plan. And you guys know, because a lot of you are part of the autism community, and in that autism community, of course, I always include autism parents, people who are on the spectrum, practitioners and people who are working with individuals who are on the spectrum, and anybody who cares about somebody who's on the autism spectrum. I call us the bigger autism community, right? And those of us in that community know that you plan and then things go whoo and turn left, right? And last Thursday, when we were coming to you live, right before we started the show, I mean like 2 minutes before we started the show, we got the horrible news that our main guest for the hour, Matt Asner, was in a car accident and was being transported to the hospital. And I just wanted to give you guys an update that Matt is recovering nicely. You know, he got to go home from the hospital. He has, some issues because he was in a 5-car pileup, and we're so glad that he's okay. But he is recovering nicely. And we do want to remind all of you that we are going to be live on the red carpet from the event that he was coming here to promote, which is the Ed Asner and Friends Poker Tournament. So that is happening this Saturday. And I don't yet know what time we'll be live. It'll probably be around 5 o'clock. We don't like to go live before there's people to interview, because then you're just stuck listening to me and I have to just ramble on, because we don't start and stop our feed once we go live. But maybe we will this time. I don't know, because it leaves me, like one person will get there and be on the red carpet and we'll start live, and then you guys are stuck listening to me for 5 minutes, which you do here anyway. But then more stars come on the carpet. It is the event of the year. I'm just saying, it's something always happens at that event that is worth talking about at the water cooler for at least 5 days. So you're going to make sure that you tune in for that. Traven's starting to show you, though, all the different ways that you can connect with us here on the show. Because we are live today. We love your thoughts, your feelings, your questions, your concerns. We'd love for you to write in, keep me company, right? It's all a good thing. And we've got a big show planned for you today, and we're going to play a little bit of catch up on some things that you guys have written in. So today's a good day to write in. We've got a great guest, but I have a little bit of time with you guys as well to catch up on questions, because I like to schedule time with you. And I always like to remind you that our homepage is autism-live.com. There's lots of other places. Traven just showed you that you can go to. You can watch the show, but autism-live.com is our home page. Lots to do on that page, and it has changed this year. It's a new, fresher site that we hope you can find information in an easier way. So lots of different ways. Scroll down, scroll over, and you'll find icons for videos, and we tried to group them into ways that made sense. But at the top of the page, if you do topics, right now, the only thing that will happen when you hit that is that it will allow you to search topics for Ask Dr. Doreen. We are working on it so that you will be able to search eventually for questions from Bonnie Yates, questions from our autism experts, and questions from Temple Grandin by text. But you can also find those things in a playlist and go through the videos and just watch in general. But sometimes you've got a specific question, right? That that your teenager is having this specific problem, and you can go through and search by text. We're working on it. But the Ask Dr. Doreen stuff is there. Hey, also at the bottom of the page, there's a button that says chat. If you click on that on our site, it opens up a box and you can type and hit enter, and it shows up here on my screen. We can have a conversation almost in real time, but also you can have a conversation with our experts. And we always like to have experts here on the show whenever we can. You're not going to believe who we have a little bit later on in the show. It's going to be so exciting that I'm afraid the top of my head is going to come off. Because you know how I feel about people on the autism spectrum having the ability to have a job, and as Joanne Laura always says, a seat at the table, right? They deserve a job and a seat at the table. Well, we've got someone who's making that possible in a big, 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 big way. And you're just going to love, love, love this story. So we have experts on the show, but I do like to remind all of you at the start of the show, whenever I can, that while we have experts on the show, I'm not one of them. My credentials are that I'm an informed informed opinion. I'm a parent, a very proud parent of a son who was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2.5. I have a little bit of an update for you guys a little bit later on that makes me cry because my son is doing so well. And why is that? My son is doing so well because we got the right treatment at the right time in the right amount. And I would also say that we got it in a very excellent way because our services came to us from the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. Yeah, it's no coincidence that we work so much with the Center for Autism and Related Disorders and that we are in their studio, because I know firsthand the benefit of their intervention. Man, my son at one point was diagnosed as moderate to severe, and we are looking at colleges. And I said to my husband just yesterday, we were on the phone and crying, and I was telling him something that had happened, and I mean crying good tears, and I said, all those years ago when we started out, when we said where we'd like to get is here. Don't even get me started. So I have a lot to pay forward. I want to help you to get to what you need. I want to help you to get the answers that you need. It's not one size fits all, right? But I want you to get the opportunity that we got, which is to help our child or to help yourself to the best possible scenario for that individual, right? Because it's worth it. Oh my gosh, it's worth it, you guys. So we will talk more about that a little bit later on. But again, not an expert, mom, and a mom who cares deeply and has karmic debt to pay down. So that is my role here. So don't mistake my informed opinion for being an expert. We have lots of other experts on the show. Okay. We do like to start every Thursday morning. I'm clearing the desk because it's time for the jargon of the day. This is when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym. We try to figure out what in the hey nani are those experts talking about? What does it mean? And how can it help me get further? I always think if we can help you to save 5 minutes and $5, high five. That's a good way to start the day. Now, we're not going to be able to put it on the screen behind me today. That's the technical difficulty we were having. For whatever reason, it just kept crashing the whole system. So I'm just going to have to read it to you today. Our term for today, our jargon term is fluency. Now, when we do jargon, we give you the actual definition, and then we give you a working definition, because sometimes the actual definition makes no sense, right? And then we give you a working definition, and then hopefully I can help to elucidate a little bit more. Fluency is one of those words that is tricky, because it seems like a word we all know, right? We know fluency. We know when somebody is fluent in something because usually we're referring to a language. Well, if somebody is fluent in Spanish, we know what that means, right? So what does fluency mean in, look at Traven problem solving. Yes, the jargon of the day is fluency. So what does it mean in terms of autism and why is this important to us? Okay, so our actual definition for fluency, and I'm reading this for you, is exhibiting retention, endurance, stability, and adduction. I don't even know what adduction is. I need a dictionary. This is why I don't like actual definitions, because this gets me no closer. I always want to picture an individual with autism, and I'm picturing exhibiting retention, endurance, stability, and adduction, and it sounds like we're going to a workout gym. That's what it sounds like to me. In fact, the only time I've ever heard the word adduction used was in a videotape that was a workout tape. I think it was a Cher workout tape. You know what I'm saying? Back in the 80s. Okay, now I've dated myself. Okay, this is why we move to our working definition. So the working definition of fluency when we're talking about autism is responding with both speed and accuracy. So think about it this way, that we start to teach somebody something. And we've talked before about, we often with an individual on the autism spectrum, we use the gold standard of treatment, which is ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis, which means that we're going to teach it in little itty bitty sections and give the person an opportunity to succeed, right? Which means if you have a big, long task like brushing your teeth, right? We're not going to try to teach the whole thing because that's too difficult for some folks, right? For most folks, right? So we start with just one little thing, and maybe it's just putting the toothpaste onto, squeezing the tube, maybe taking the cap off the tube we start with, right? And then we reward the person and go, good job, praise, and some sort of meaningful reward for having done that. Sometimes being able to squeeze it and being successful is enough of a reward, but we're always rewarding, right? So we will take a task and we'll teach a little piece of it and a little piece of it and a little piece of it. And now we have all the little pieces together, right? So the individual knows how to brush their teeth, but it's still not quite their skill and they can't do it quite fast enough. And, the toothpaste ends up on the sink, right? This is normal for development. This is not something to panic about, but it's also not something to ignore and go, oh, well, we tried, right? Because not only do we want to teach the skill and make it so the person can do all aspects of it, we want them, because then we're going to consider that mastered, right? But then we want them to be fluent in it. We want them to be fluent teeth brushers, which means that they can, you go to brush your teeth and you almost don't even think about it, right? It's just these actions that you do and we're done with the brushing of the teeth. So this is what we want for all skills, right? To varying degrees, right? How often do you stop and think about it when you put a key in the door and turn it? A lot of times you don't. With our mindfulness exercises, we want to encourage you to think about it, right? But what we want for you ultimately is to not have to think about it to do it, right? And we want you to be successful at it and to be able to do it in less than an hour, right? I'm thinking about things like shoe tying, that often we will teach our kiddos on the spectrum shoe tying, and they can do it, but it takes them maybe 10 minutes, whereas the rest of the kids in the 5th grade class, and they're done, right? And they're on the playground. But our kiddo, it becomes a problem and they're taking time and people are like, hurry up because we're supposed to be someplace. So we want them to be fluent. Think about all the things that you would like to be fluent in and that you would like the person that you care about on the spectrum to be fluent in. Responding with both speed and accuracy is our working definition for fluency. So stop and think about this, that, we want to work towards mastery where the person is able to do the task and they're able to do it in different situations with different people at different times of day. We want mastery, but we want fluency, right? Eventually we want them not only to have mastered it, but for them to have done it fluently so that they can do it fast and with accuracy, so it's their skill. And then ultimately, what we want is generalization, which is when they can take everything that they've learned and apply it to new situations. When you have mastery and you have fluency and you have generalization, whoa, angels sing, right? That's when it's their skill. And we're not going to regress. They're not going to lose it. That's when we've really got it. So what are you fluent at? What is your child fluent at? Okay, now it is time, my friends, for the question of the day. And we always ask you a question, and we love for you to answer it on Facebook or on YouTube or whatever. So here it is. What is your superpower? What can you do? It's funny. We had this question locked in, and then this morning on the listening to the radio on the way in, they were. It was a similar question. They were asking people, "What are you particularly good at? What's the thing that you can do?" And they had people calling in from all over Los Angeles. And my favorite thing was this guy called in, and he's a mover, and he moves sofas and things, and he's very good at this. You know, great mover, he says. But his superpower is that he can sew. Like, you know, he makes his kids Halloween costumes. He mends all of the family's clothes. He says he's super great at it. He may have missed his calling as a tailor. I love this. What is your superpower? What is the thing that you can do? Can you guess what my superpower is? I can talk you under the table. I can talk longer than anyone I know without taking a breath. I can talk longer than anyone I know with taking a breath. I think sometimes that is my superpower, and sometimes it is my biggest problem. So there you go. But that is my superpower. If you have to send me in to do something, send me in to talk. That's my superpower. What's yours? We'll read those a little bit later on. Okay, and then we always have a topic of the week, and we started this week out with this very topic. And we're continuing on through tomorrow. Our topic is the power of being independent. Boy, you know, when you think about all the things that you want in your life, and all the things that you want if you're a parent for your child, I love to ask parents, what do you want? Because everybody's different, right? Every parent is different, every child is different, and every child on the spectrum is different. What do you want? And what I love is that there's always some measure of this, the power of being independent. I love the dad who said to me, you know what, I hope that someday he can listen to a good piece of music and appreciate it and talk about it. Because there's a measure of independence in that, right? To have an opinion is to be independent. But, you know, the mom who said to me, I want him to be able to brush his teeth. You know what? That's a very viable and valuable goal. It's attainable, right? Because we can make sure that we can teach somebody how to brush teeth. It may take a while. Let's be serious. For a person who has any kind of physical issue that they have to overcome to be able to hold on to a toothbrush, it's going to take somebody longer than somebody who doesn't have that, right? But it's attainable. We can teach almost anyone to be able to brush their teeth given the right amount of time, right? And that's important. We started out the week talking about adaptive skills and how important they are for people to feel independent. I think of the old Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer when he says, I want to be independent. And you know, that's such a moment stolen from childhood, because almost any child who has the ability to talk at some point, probably between the ages of 2 and 4, says, I do it, or I can do it, right? And they wave people away, and they do it themselves because they want that feeling of autonomy, that I can do this on my own. Just, was it last week that we had Liz Becker on, and she was talking about her new book and her son, Matt. She's the author of the blog, The World According to Matt. And Matt had siblings that got married or went to college or just plain moved out and got a job. And Matt wanted that for himself. And, you know, there was a moment when Liz was like, I don't know if that's going to be possible, because he had some real challenges in his life. But they worked, and they worked on it for 11 years. That's a long time. but what else did they have to do, right? This is what he wanted. So for 11 years, they worked on it, and he lives independently now. And he has the pride in himself of living independently. This is important, and we need to not poo-poo this. We have the responsibility to make this available to the people that we love that are on the autism spectrum, the power of being independent. And yes, of course, that's going to look different for everyone. Matt living on his own looks differently than someone, maybe his brother who lives independently, right? But it's still something that's possible. Maybe there's some support where there wouldn't have been otherwise. Well, okay. But let's, as much as we can, lift our eyes and raise the hope and then work to make this possible. The power of being independent for absolutely everyone. I always tell the story, because it just hit home for me, of being in Las Vegas, and we were sitting waiting to see the show Mystere, and we came early because they told us that there was a clown interactive part that happened before the show, and there was the young woman in a wheelchair with some significant physical challenges with her parents on either side of her, and the young woman started to make noises and flail an arm. It was clear that there was something that she wanted. And they were trying to quiet her because the show was going to start in a few minutes, and they just kept trying to soothe her and quiet her. But that wasn't what she wanted. And it's so important that we listen to what people want and what they need. And it went south, right? The young woman, began hitting her mother to try to get her attention. And she was making noise, and now people are staring, and these poor parents, I think, were drowning in this moment of we don't know what to do. But eventually they took her out. What she needed was to go to the bathroom. And what I found so particularly unfortunate is that as soon as the mom took her into the bathroom, she was fine. But then the mom was so beat up that she couldn't take her back to see the show. So they probably paid $500 to see the show for the three of them, and they left without seeing the show. Because there had been this moment where this young woman didn't have true independence. She didn't have the ability to take her wheelchair and go into the bathroom on her own. And to convey, that's what I need. This is why I sing the song always on the show about we have to give everybody functional communication. If you don't have the ability to ask for what you need, man, that's frustration in the making, right? So in any case, the power of being independent, it's super, super important. So I mentioned that we have an amazing guest. I'm going to slaughter her name, Marcy Ciampi. It's some Italian name. It might be Champi. We'll see how she says to pronounce it. But she's going to be joining us from a company called UltraTesting. And I'm going to be honest that we're going to have her explain what the company does, because it's vast and amazing, but it's a tech company that does a bunch of different things: testing software, testing programs, testing connections. I don't really even understand. She's going to tell us. So why are we having them on the show? Because they have made a commitment to hire individuals who are on the autism spectrum, not because they feel like it's some big humanitarian effort. On their website, it says, the beginning of their mission statement, it says, our mission is to prove neurodiversity is a competitive advantage. Oh my goodness. I'm going to read it again because it's that good. Our mission is to prove neurodiversity is a competitive advantage. Whoo, doesn't that feel good? Because I think they're right. And they're proving it every single day with their extreme customer service and what they're able to give their customers. And over approximately 75% of their workforce is on the autism spectrum. How much do we love that? So she's going to be joining us a little bit later. First, we're going to go to a break, and then we're going to come back and look at a couple of questions that you guys have written in. So stick with us. We're going to get some stuff done today. And write in right now if there's something that I can answer for you before we have our expert. So stick around.
Hey, I'm Candace Cameron Bray.
Tom Bergeron.
You're watching Autism Live.
And you're watching Autism Live.
And you're watching Autism Live.
You're watching Autism Live.
Do you provide care services to someone with autism? Recently, more and more children are being diagnosed with the condition and getting the support they need as awareness grows. But what happens to these children as they grow up? It's estimated that over 500,000 youth with autism will turn 18 in the next decade, and they'll be faced with a very difficult reality. As children with autism grow up, their services start to disappear or become very difficult to access. Things like medical care, mental health counseling, vocational training, and more. All services that are still desperately needed. The loss of support that youth with autism face as they grow up is so severe that it's referred to in the autism community as falling off a cliff. Adults with autism need the same level of support they had as children to avoid falling off the services cliff. Introducing Skills Living, the web-based software designed specifically to help transitioning youth and adults with autism so they can avoid the cliff and instead fly to success. With Skills Living, help your learner with autism develop the skills they need in all the critical areas of adult life, including self-control, planning, and problem-solving, effective communication, performing life skill tasks for independent living, acquiring and maintaining employment or other meaningful activities, developing and maintaining social skills and relationships, accessing transportation and public services, and being safe. Skills Living includes a comprehensive assessment, a data collection mobile app, behavior intervention plan builder, and automatic progress reporting. It also provides a complete curriculum addressing 16 key areas spanning the entire range of functioning adulthood. Skills Living is easy to use and can be implemented by schools, parents, and autism service providers. Call or click today for your free demo and see how Skills Living can help your learner with autism avoid the cliff and instead reach their fullest potential. Skills Living. Wish, learn, become.
Hey, welcome back. We're going to hit some viewer questions really quick. Tiffany, first of all, can I say hello to Michelle and Tiffany and Alicia and a bunch more people? I'll find them in a second. So Tiffany wrote in and said, I have a question. My granddaughter Riley, who will be 5 in July, she's in preschool and she has high functioning autism. Lately, when her sister, who is 13 months old, and her brother, who is 19 months old, if they have a toy, she will take them from them and either push them down or try and kick them. And we try to tell her we need to share, but if we tell her she can't do it, and she goes into a meltdown throwing stuff. So any input would be greatly appreciated, and thank you. And obviously, I just want to remind everybody that I am not an expert, but I have an informed opinion because this exact thing happened. You know, we did a series called The A Word, where we followed a little boy on the autism spectrum. And one of the things that happened with Jack Riley was that he eventually had a little sister come, and he was about the same age that you're talking about when his little sister came on the picture, and he just really hated her having access to his toys, and he really hated her having access to the mom and the dad, and you know, it was like attention. It was like they were stealing, this child was stealing from him. Now you've got 2 babies in a house with a child who's used to having all the attention in the world. So whenever we look at, it's funny because on Monday we're doing our Jargon as behavior intervention plan, and this is really what we're coming up with is a behavior intervention plan. In order for it to be successful, we need to know what the function of the behavior is. So you can do a little bit of recon on this yourself. I've encouraged you guys before that you can fold a paper in 3 parts and you take notes on it, and you write down the behavior. So ABC. Why am I trying to rush through this? Let's just stop for a second and do it. You fold your paper, in case people haven't seen this, you fold your paper into 3 equal columns, right? And then you just carry it around in your pocket for a while. And at the top of the paper, you put A, B, C. right? I don't know if you can see it. A, B, C in the 3 columns. We know our ABCs, right? A stands for antecedent. It's what happened before the behavior. B is the behavior. So that's where you start, actually, is in the middle column. So every time he does this, you're going to make a note and write down exactly what he did. And it helps you actually to be calm when it's happening, because you're like remembering, okay, I got to remember he like kicked, he hit, he threw, whatever. You write that down in the B column. Then you try to think to yourself, okay, so what was happening right before? Was I paying attention to the baby? Was he playing with a toy, and then I did something with a toy with the baby, and that brought his attention to you write down whatever happened, right? And then the C is the consequence. So what was the consequence of, and you just have to give yourself a pass and forgive yourself and not comment on it for yourself. Like, was it that you gave him the toy to play with for a while? That's a consequence, right? Or did you give him a timeout? Don't judge yourself, just write down what the consequence, because a lot of times we get the consequence not right? And we know it's not right, and we go, oh, I gave in, right? Just write it down. Forgive yourself in advance. But we're taking data, and I really like it if you include what time of day and, anything else like, did grandma just leave? That's really important in the antecedent. So once we have all this, if you would like to, there's even a great thing in skills. It's called the CIFA, CIFA. If you go into the Behavior Intervention Plan Builder that comes in skills, I'm talking about Skills for Autism. You can go there, skillsforautism.com, and you can do a 14-day free trial. So you go into the Behavior Intervention Plan Builder, and the first thing it does is a CIFA, and it will ask you a bunch of questions that you will now have the answers to because you have this piece of paper, right? And then it will tell you what it thinks the function of the behavior is, and it will help you to build an intervention plan. But when you're doing a behavior intervention plan, there's like a couple of things that are absolutely key to them. You have to have an antecedent modification. So for kids, for instance, that are having trouble with attention because they used to get all the attention and now it's split 3 ways, right? What we want to do is give them a bunch of attention before we play with the babies. So maybe he gets up a half hour early and you play with him extra, and you have some special ritual that's just you and him that the babies don't participate in. And why? You're a big boy. Only big boys get to sit at the table and have breakfast donuts with mom. Or only big boys get to go to the ice cream shop with dad, and you language it that way. Oh, the babies can't do that. Why? Because they're not big boys like you, right? And so that's antecedent. You're giving attention to this child so that their bucket is full. We're not waiting until their bucket is not full, right? So that's one thing that you have to do in an intervention plan. Another thing that you do is give a replacement behavior for whatever is happening. So it'll help you in the intervention plan to see this, but if he is going and taking the baby toy away because what he wants is your attention right now, then what we do is we teach him outside of that moment how to ask for mommy's attention and how to get it. And then when he says, Mom, can you play with me? We teach him, or he taps you, or he gives you an icon and says, Mom, play on the icon, right? That then you do it, even if you're in the middle of things with babies, because we're teaching him this is how you get your needs met, not by kicking somebody else's toy or by hurting the baby, right? And then there's a consequence thing. So I know this always seems like, well, then we better punish him for doing this. But honestly, a better choice to do is to set up a contingency. This is called the 3-term contingency, that there is the A, the B, and the C always. It's better if we set up a contingency where when he does nice things to the baby, that he gets a reward. So you can have a sticker chart on the wall, and you can, anytime, and you teach him the behaviors you want him to do with the baby. So when we go over to the baby and we give them the toy, oh, you get this extra special fabulous thing and you get praise, right? So we're teaching him. I know we all assume, well, everybody knows how to be with their baby brother or baby sister. No. Even neurotypical kids don't, but especially a kiddo on the spectrum. So we set up a contingency where when he does things that are nice for the baby, then he's an extra big boy and he's a big brother. And we get him a big brother t-shirt and we go, he's fabulous. And we say to grandma, he's such a good big brother. Do you know what he did today? And it becomes all about that. That is, in fact, exactly what they did with Jack Riley in the A Word. Was they had the big sticker chart, and he had big boy directives and big brother directives, and when he did them, he got big praise, and he got all the things that he wanted. So they were teaching him that being a good big brother is worth it. Obviously, you need to protect the babies so that they cannot be hurt. Right? We always want to make sure that that's happening, but this is the more positive way of going about the behavior for that little one. Okay, I'm just looking through, and Michelle says you need computer programming skills for an autistic career. Not necessarily, but it certainly doesn't hurt, right? And we're, okay. And we have top of the morning from Fiji. I absolutely love that. And then we also have some YouTube things, then we've got to get to our guest. So if I can get into my email. Oh, different iPads, different passwords. Okay, so Andrea wrote in on YouTube and said, I think a barrier for independence can be the fear that your child isn't safe. The fear that something bad will or could happen to them and can prevent the climb required to independence. Oh, Andrea, you get a gold star. I keep promising that I'm going to talk about a conference that I went to a couple of weeks ago that was all about ACT, Acceptance Commitment Therapy, and I was the only parent in the room, I don't know how that worked out, with a bunch of BCBAs learning about ACT, and I kept saying to them, because ACT is about learning how to deal with painful situations in order to get to the things that you want to in a very humane and better way than having a nervous breakdown, really. And I was saying, the number one thing for parents, because they would say, well, parents want their kids to be independent. This is what the BCBAs kept saying, and I kept raising my hand going, yeah, but sometimes that means that we're afraid, and what we want for our kids more is safety. So Andrea, Vulcan mind melt, you and I. But it is what's ironic about it, and the reason why the BCBAs have such confusion about this is the way to make your child safe is to give them skills. So we need to do the antecedent, where did I put my sheet, on ourselves, and teach our child over and over and over the safety skills so that they can be independent. And we're going to talk more about that. But then we had more. Oh, okay. Hang on one second. Andrea also said, as far as independence, my young one is motivated by stickers. We love that. We have a sticker chart ongoing for many things. When she reaches 100 stickers, we do something fun as a family. That's amazing. And to get to 100 stickers is pretty fantastic. And I would tell everybody that, that's a long process to get to 100 stickers. I would start with, maybe 5 before you do 10 and then 15 and whatever, but 100 means you're doing an awesome job. And she goes on to say that her superpower is being able to plan and prepare for what I assume is going to happen. Andrea, I just want to have lunch with you because you're amazing. Because I love that she says, I love to plan and prepare, which is an awesome thing for an autism parent, but I love that she adds for what I assume is going to happen, meaning she understands that it could all go, right? Because it does. Okay, so, oh, that's wonderful. So it's Andrea who said that? Okay, so Andrea says she's been doing ACT for over a year. I love that. Well, see, this is why we have a Vulcan mind meld, Andrea. We must talk. But right now I need to pivot because we're not even going to go to a break. We have our guest joining us via Skype. And Marcy, I slaughtered your name before, but I want to welcome Marcy, and she's going to tell us her last name, from UltraTesting, to be here with us on Autism Live. Marcy, are you there?
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
So how do I say your last name?
My full name is Marcelle Ciampi.
Champi, okay. So Marcelle, and I should be saying that, you are from a company called UltraTesting?
Yes, I am. It's based in New York. I work from home out of the state of Washington.
Okay, and so already your superpowers are so it's a company based in New York, but you work out of your home in Washington. So tell us a little bit about what UltraTesting does.
Sure. It was founded in about 2013 by two MIT graduates, and they had a mission to provide quality service and tap into the autistic population. Now they've expanded to the neurodiverse population to create job opportunities for software testers to work from home across the United States. And when I first came on about 4.5 years ago, we had 5 testers, and now we're approaching 50 testers. And it's all different locations across the United States, working from home and testing quality assurance on apps and websites, etc.
And you guys have gotten a lot of praise for what your company does. For the fact that you guys do a wonderful job of testing and that your quality assurance is absolutely amazing. You've gotten a lot of buzz in that whole sector. But the reason why we're having you on is because of this mission to employ the neurodiverse population. So you're the senior recruiter. What do you look for when you're looking to recruit?
That's an excellent question. We think outside the box. When I was brought on, they listened very much to my suggestions as far as tailoring the hiring process toward those that have different brains, autistics, and also having the best interview and best hiring processes in order. So our whole screening process has been tailored to accommodate those that are on the autism spectrum, but of course we welcome people from every type of neurology. So as far as what we're looking for is people that have a passion for technology. It can be demonstrated through volunteer work, through self-taught skills. For example, they might have built a blog or tested errors in a video game. We're looking for a strong aptitude to learn new skills, grasp new ideas, people who want to be part of an online team. Some basic software knowledge, software testing knowledge is important, knowing some terminology, which can be gained through reading or watching YouTubes or tutorials, podcasts. We are not looking at resumes specifically. We accept alternative resumes, which can be a list of self-taught skills, volunteer experience, some education. We don't require degrees. We do require that they reside and are citizens of the USA and 18 years or older.
Okay. And so safe to assume then that these individuals could be like you working remotely.
Yes, and I'd like to say I'm on the autism spectrum as well. It's one of the reasons they brought me on. So is my son. He's my middle son, who's 20 years old.
And so what does this mission mean for you personally then?
It's been a huge growing and learning experience. And for me personally, I'm also an author and an advocate, and I've corresponded with thousands, more than 10,000 people around the world who are connected to autism, either themselves or a loved one. So for me, it's another branch, another way to give back, to serve, and to follow my calling and my mission to help others in any way that I can. It's also meant that able to create opportunities that might not be there for a lot of people with neurology similar to mine.
Well, I gotta say, I got goosebumps when I read the first sentence of the mission statement, which is our mission is to prove neurodiversity is a competitive advantage.
Yes. It's not seen as a charity work that our testers perform outstanding. We get notes from our clients continually congratulating the team, thanking for efforts. We have repeat clients. We're constantly growing our client base through word of mouth and reputation. It's not about just creating opportunities for those that are underemployed and unemployed, it's about creating a quality product that'll bring the clients back. And by doing that, we can offer more and more jobs for more people.
Which I respect and admire and love. So let's start with, if somebody feels that they're qualified for one of these jobs, how would they go about finding more information and potentially being interviewed?
Sure, there's two ways. They can check out Ultra's website, which is ultra, ULTRA, testing.us. And then in addition, on my personal website, which is called myspectrumsuite.com, suite is in an office building or room, SUITE, myspectrumsuite.com. There's also information there, and there's many resources related to autism employment. There is a 2-year project that Ultra helped to support, and where I list a lot of different resources related to autism in the workplace. There's articles, there's other autistics. So those are the two best avenues, and then people can email me directly at Marcelle, which you can see on the screen, my first name, at ultratesting.us.
Okay, and for those of you listening on YouTube, MARCELLE at ultratesting.com.
And also we're expanding into all areas of Canada as well. So it's not limited to USA, but it's anywhere in the US and anywhere in Canada. One requirement is that you need to have high-speed internet, and we suggest a computer that's at least less than 5 years old.
Okay. Now, people are writing in and saying that they would love to get their kids ready for this. Their kids are not yet 18. What kinds of courses or classes or activities would you recommend so that when these people, when their children are 18, they would be hireable by UltraTesting?
I would suggest matching them up with a peer mentor that knows a little bit about software testing, doing an internship, going to a community college and taking some basic courses, taking some free courses online, EDX, edX. There's also free MIT courses that you can look online. Also, if they message me, I have a few direct links that we recommend for people when they're first applying. One of the great things we do is we provide a very thorough, I believe it's 15-page recruitment overview that goes from step 1 to the very end of what our recruitment and hiring process looks like. It links to the job description. It links exact skills that are needed. So something like that could help a parent in preparing for what their child might need to apply in future years.
Okay. And then we should specify this is a paying job. Are these people considered consultants, or are they employees, and are there other benefits to it, or it's just a consultant kind of position?
That's an excellent question. People who make it through the entire process, there is a week-long paid training, which is an assessment as well, and usually about 75% of the applicants pass through that, and then they enter a shadow period. Once they enter a shadow period and they're matched with a mentor and they're put on at least 2 projects, after they complete those projects, they're offered employment. During this shadow period, they're also employed, but it's temporary employment. It's not independent contract. It's being an employee of the company. It starts off at $16 an hour, and people can actually start off at different tier levels and progress. And so if someone has more experience, let's say they've already done software testing and they know a lot about it, then they might start off at a higher tier and a higher pay level. Part-time workers do not receive benefits, but full-time workers do. All of our testers start off as part-time, and then they have opportunity to progress through the years to full-time if that's something they desire. Some of our testers are on government support or disability or work from home or have physical conditions, and so part-time is what they're looking for, and others are striving for that full-time position.
Okay, I have to ask, do you have a cat or a dog? Something just scurried behind you, scared me to death.
Yeah, a little Labradoodle.
Okay, I was like, oh, I hope that's a pet. If not, you were.
She hasn't barked yet.
No, and whenever we have people who are Skyping from home, the dog or the children always make an appearance. It's always, but that was a little freaky there for us. I was like, I don't know what that was. We sort of saw a shadow and saw a scurry. So just wanted to make sure you were safe and not being invaded.
He's my work from companion.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so let's go over again for people who want to know more. And let's say somebody has a business and goes, hey, I need testing done. So is it all one place that they go to be able to find out more about the company, about getting hired, so on and so forth? Okay.
They can message me or they can go to ultratesting.us. Either one of those will give them emails. Or the website will give them email to contact us, and I work under the close supervision of the VP of Operations, the CEO, and so I can pass on any type of inquiries directly to them if needed.
Okay, well, we really appreciate the work that you guys are doing. Tell them your website again.
It's myspectrumsuite.com, and suite is SUITE.
Okay, myspectrumsuite.com. So check that out for resources. Thank you.
And you can also see me on LinkedIn under my legal name, and then my author's name is Samantha Kraft. That's how most people know me. I've published 2 books. One is called Everyday Asperger's, and I'm also a contributing author to Spectrum Women Walking to the Beat of Autism.
Okay, I did not know that was you, Samantha Kraft. Well, that's a whole other episode about how you got your pen name. I love that. But I thank you so much for being with us. I think that this is an amazing mission. We congratulate UltraTesting for doing this and having this. I love this mission. Because I think that that's the tipping point that everybody needs to get, that this is a competitive advantage. This isn't somebody, saying, oh, I guess we'll tolerate having somebody on the spectrum. No, you'll be thrilled having workers who are amazing and who are fast and diligent and thorough and all the great things.
Loyal, dependable.
Yes. Responsible. Yep, absolutely all of them. Okay, so, but we're out of time, but I thank you so much for being with us and for sharing this important message. I hope people check out your website.
Thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to tell you more about UltraTesting, and I hope we can connect in the future.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And unfortunately, we're out of time. I do want to say that Mez has written in and said, I'm in need of a plan for my extremely challenged student in an early intervention center I work at. He's 8 on the spectrum and just loves throwing toys, spitting at them, hitting. Help, please. We are a class of 7 boys on the spectrum. Hey, Mez, will you email me and so that I can help get you some access to some support? So my email is s.penrod@autism-live.com. And I'm sorry we don't have time to talk about it here on the air, but we got to go. I thank you all for being with us. We will be back tomorrow with Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. Great show. You guys are just going to love that. And don't forget, on Saturday, live from the red carpet, we will be on Facebook Live at the Ed Asner Poker Tournament, and anything could happen. Last time, Eric Roberts just kept kissing me, and I'm not kidding. If you don't believe me, go back and watch it. I know it doesn't seem like it could possibly be the case, but it is. So tune in for surprise guests and wonderfulness. But back tomorrow. Until then, give your kiddos a hug for me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.